If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to Crime Over Wine Weekly. It's Monday, August 12th. I'm Heather, here are your crime headlines. A former trucker from Mississippi is now suspected of being a serial killer and faces charges in several murders. Warren Luther Alexander is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder in the 1977 strangulation deaths of Kimberly Fritz, Velvet Sanchez, and Lorraine Rodriguez. Investigators always thought the California murders were connected but lacked evidence to prove so. That changed when the Ventura County Sheriff's Cold Case Unit started re-examining the cases last February. They had a breakthrough after uploading DNA into a database and getting a match with Alexander. The 73-year-old was extradited to California from Surry County, North Carolina, where he also faces charges in a 1992 cold case murder. That victim, Nona Cobb, was also strangled to death. Alexander's arraignment is scheduled for August 21st. He's currently being held in the Ventura County Jail without bail. Authorities are now working with the FBI and its Highway Serial Killings Initiative to try to identify other potential victims of Alexander. After 20 years on the run, authorities captured the fugitive known as the Devil. Antonio Riano was featured on America's Most Wanted in 2005. Authorities say he shot and killed Benjamin Bacar outside a bar in Hamilton, Ohio. Riano then allegedly fled the country to avoid prosecution. The case went cold until January when investigators received a provisional warrant. They then used social media to track down Riano. He was then arrested in his hometown of Zapotitlan Palmas, Mexico last week and turned over to U.S. Marshals. Riano is being held in the Butler County Jail without bond. He's scheduled to appear in court today. Police arrested a Texas man they say set explosive booby traps inside several businesses' restrooms, causing multiple injuries. Paul Moses Alden is charged with arson causing reckless damage or bodily injury. The first incident happened at a Helote business on July 20th. According to the affidavit, a security camera captured Alden going into the restroom. Moments later, a woman went in and there was a small explosion. Detectives say she was hurt but left before making a report. 6 days later, there were 2 more victims at a San Antonio business. According to the arrest report, an employee and little girl were both hurt when they sat down on the toilet. Alden was also seen on security footage there. At both scenes, investigators found small commercial fireworks designed to explode when pressure is applied. Alden is currently out of jail on bond. His next court date has not been set. Welcome to another episode of Crime Over Wine Weekly, the best place to hear current crime headlines and find your next bottle of wine. Favorite bottle of wine. I haven't even opened it yet. But of course, we can't do this without the vivacious Michelle Heron. Michelle, hi. Save me.
Hi. So, I think that toilet seat bomber story is gonna give me PTSD, and I will think of it every time I need to go to the bathroom out in public now.
See, now not only do you need to check to make sure there's not a snake hiding in the toilet before you go, now you need to make sure there aren't fireworks hidden under the seat waiting for you to sit down like a deadly whoopee cushion.
Exactly. Like, what type of person thinks up of this and then wants to be like a serial undercarriage bomber? I just don't understand. I don't understand.
I don't, and like,
and also only you would find this story. Like,
you know, I needed a little brevity there. The first 2 were pretty intense. I mean, we talked about the devil and a serial killer, so like, let's talk about a butt bomber.
That is totally true. Wow. So if that's how we're starting out the episode, I can only imagine how the rest is gonna go. Buckle up your seatbelts, guys.
Yeah, y'all get, I wrote all of my stories while mildly sick and on medicine, so buckle up, buttercups.
Well, you know, the next best thing to do is when you are on medication is just add some alcohol to the mix. So let's get right to this week's wine.
Okay, disclaimer, for any doctors or legal people out there, I am not on medication. Today's the first day I haven't taken any. So this wine is just going to be wine in my body. Okay, that's it. Straight
Yes.
alcohol into the system. All right. Anyway, this week went to Wally World and find us another $9 wine to try out here. It is the Schmitt Sohne Riesling. Schmitt Sohne family wines Rieslings are everything that great German Rieslings are supposed to be. Richly fragrant, light to medium bodied, with a lively, fruity acidity and earthy minerality. They're the kind of easy drinking, go with anything wines that only dedicated vintners, is that a German word for wine drinkers, I guess? Steeped in centuries-long winemaking tradition can make. Oh, winemakers. Okay. They have the aroma of ripe honey, crisp apples, and juicy peach, with the flavor of ripe pear and sweet nectarine. We'll be the judges
Yay.
of that.
Yes, let's cheers to that.
Sorry, I'm back to my old ways. I'm drinking straight out of the bottle this week.
Heather, you are unhinged this episode. Okay. Ooh, I like it. I when I first started drinking wine, like I got into like Riesling, like that was like my favorite first wine. So it's good. It's a little sweet, but it's good.
Yeah, my taste buds are still a little whack, so it's a little bitter to me, but I think it's just like off because of my. It's a pretty color though in your glass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what color it is because it's in a blue bottle. It's a pretty bottle.
Yeah,
Has a little sunshine on it. It's cute. It also made me think of New Girl because of Schmitt.
I'm not familiar.
You've never seen New Girl? Oh man, it's good. It's funny. Anyway, you know what's not funny? Crime.
You are Heather is on one. Like I'm loving it though. Okay. I can't wait till the wine starts like kicking in. We have a lot on this episode. Coming up on Crime Over Wine Weekly, the family of a missing Georgia woman are desperate for answers. Find out why they're not getting much help from investigators. Plus, a break in a cold case more than 40 years old. How investigators in Oklahoma are one step closer to finding out what happened to a young married couple inside their home.
Crime Over Wine is sponsored by BetterHelp. As someone who's used therapy for years, I know that finding a therapist can sometimes be a stress on its own, juggling your full-time job, your family, your friends, your podcast, and trying to find the right therapist on top of that can almost feel impossible. That's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp matches you with a therapist that works for you on your terms. It's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to one of 33,000 licensed professional therapists in as little as a few days. And because finding a new therapist is a lot like finding a new bottle of wine, if you don't jive with your therapist, you can easily switch to a new one at no additional cost. You can get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by going to betterhelp.com/crimeoverwine. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/crimeoverwine for 10% off your first month. Join over 4 million people who decided to get help and get happy with BetterHelp.
The family of a Clayton, Georgia woman is asking for help finding her. Veronica Murphy has been missing since July 16th. According to a post by the Broken Link Foundation, Veronica called her father that day saying she'd be home a little late, but she never made it. Veronica was reportedly seen in Forest Park, Georgia on July 17th. The family says Forest Park police told them they can't get involved because Veronica wasn't in city limits. And they say the Clayton County Sheriff's Office told them to file a report with their local agency. Veronica has long dark hair and a lighter complexion. There aren't any additional details about her appearance right now. Veronica's family asks you call 911 if you know anything about her whereabouts.
A $2,000 reward is being offered in the suspicious disappearance of a Pennsylvania man. 25-year-old Matthew Wisman was last seen at the end of March in East Drumore Township. Wisman is described as a white Hispanic male with dark brown hair, 5 foot 8 inches tall, and weighing about 155 pounds. Police say he has ties to Lancaster and Maryland. Anyone with information about Matthew Wisman should call Pennsylvania State Police, Lancaster, at 717-299-7650. Now to my case of the week. It takes place in Oklahoma, where a woman's remains are finally identified 41 years after she disappeared. Melody Garton Jones was reported missing after she did not show up for work. A family member went to her home to check on her and found her husband, Paul Jones, stabbed to death in 1983. 19-year-old Melody was nowhere to be found. Investigators spent more than 40 years tracking down tips, but it brought them no closer to finding Melody. They always maintained that Melody was a victim of foul play. Her glasses were found in the bedroom, her makeup and all of her personal belongings were left, and the family vehicles were outside in the driveway. Now let's fast forward to 1998. Skeletal remains were found in rural Seminole County. They were taken to the Oklahoma Chief Medical Examiner's office to determine a cause of death and positive identification. But on Wednesday, 26 years after the remains were found, the medical examiner's office positively identified the remains as Melody Jones. Investigators say newly acquired resources through the state medical examiner's office allowed for extensive testing of unidentified remains. So here's what is known about this case. We know that Melody had spent the previous day fishing with her family at Shawnee Twin Lakes. She was with all 6 of her family members, her 3 young sisters, a younger brother, and her mother and father. After fishing, her parents took her younger siblings home, and Melody's brother drove her home. Her brother dropped her off around 10:30 that night. Randall, that's the name of the brother, he said that he pulled his car up to the back of the house so that Melody could get to the main entrance easily. Randall said he saw a light from inside of the house flood onto the lawn as she entered the home. Now, that's really all that's known. The next part from there was when she didn't show up to work. She worked at a Dairy Queen there in town, and when she didn't show up, that's when someone in her family went to the house to see what was going on, and that is where her husband, who was 20 at the time, so you're talking about a 19 and 20-year-old married couple. They're very young. And so the husband was found stabbed to death. She is nowhere to be found. No one could figure out what in the world happened. And then obviously they didn't have the testing like we have now. But it's been nothing. And then these remains are found in 1998, and they still didn't even know if it was Melody or not until this past week. It's really just crazy as to what's happened. Now, to drum up some cold case tips, investigators printed the faces of victims like Paul and Melody on like playing cards, and they were circulated in Oklahoma prisons, but we haven't heard if there's been any tips that have come out of that. Now, if you have any information about what happened to Paul and Melody Jones, call the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-522-8017. But yeah, like this case is just like a lot happened, but there's a lot of questions with no answers, essentially.
My first immediate thought was, is any of her family left alive to get to know that she was finally found?
So that's a good question. So her parents have passed, but her siblings are still alive, and so they did speak to media, and they said that they're happy to finally know like that was her, and that brings a little bit of closure. Now they're able to bury those remains or do what they want with them, and so at least they have that. They have her back, but there's still just a lot of questions as to like, how did she die? Who would do this? Why would they do this? It makes you like really wonder.
So with the extensive testing that they did, is there any word on if they might be able to determine how she died, or those remains so long gone that we're lucky to get an ID?
I think I'm leaning towards the second. kind of the second situation. I do know that it was like a partial skull that was found. So, like it's kind of, it wasn't like everything, and especially when remains are outside in the elements for a long time, the elements can get to them, animals can get to them, things like that. So I don't know.
And who knows what kind of technology advances are yet to come that may provide answers even further down the line. Were there ever any developments in on the husband's side? Like, did that have any suspects or anything? Because they had that whole crime scene.
Yeah. No, they literally had no clue. That has been just as much as a cold case as Melody's has been. So, or if there are clues, then investigators have not released them. So, and obviously they do things like that to help protect cases and keep the integrity of the case. But yeah, as far as publicly, no. And like, can you imagine like in a town, where there's this young couple, like just starting out their life, like living together, just doing their thing. And all of a sudden, like the husband is found stabbed to death. Like that's a violent, like way to take someone's life. And then the woman is like missing, like, and just knowing like in your community that there's somebody out there that can do that, like has it in them to do something like that. Like that's crazy. It's alarming.
Because when you think of stabbing, that takes a lot more like physical power, and typically to be deadly has to be repetitive. So there was probably some passion behind that killing. And for them to have been in the house, you would think it was someone they might have known, but again, we'll never know that. And how small of a town was this? Is this a pretty small town?
Yeah, it's a pretty small town, rural town. And so I keep thinking back to like when the brother dropped her off at 10:30 at night. The one clue that he has said is like when she opened up the door, he remembered seeing the light on the lawn. So like obviously either husband was up, or maybe husband was up and had someone there. Like who knows, did she possibly like walk into something happening to her husband, or maybe he was already killed? Like, kind of who knows what those last moments of her life were like.
I hate that the family had to wait so long for any kind of answers, but glad that there's some resolution. There's no justice, but there's some answers.
And who knows, I mean, they didn't go into specifics as to like what the newly acquired resources are with the medical examiner's office. I mean, obviously it's going to be some type of DNA testing. But I wonder if we're going to see more cold cases or more John and Jane Does being identified in the coming months, as they're able to test the evidence.
I hope so. That would be beneficial for so many families left grieving without answers. Still to come on Crime Over Wine Weekly, a woman walked away from a South Carolina hospital 4 years ago and hasn't been seen since. What we know about the time leading up to her disappearance, plus a former paramedic charged with killing his wife by poisoning her, is now accused of trying to kill their daughter the same manner. Why prosecutors say he did it.
Hello, Crime Over Wine listeners. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We are the hosts of Like Mother, Like Murder.
We bring you the good, the badass, and the crime.
Each week, we bring you stories from missing and murdered
to survivors and women who empower you.
And of course, some mom talk sprinkled in.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts at Like Mother, Like Murder.
And give us a follow on social media so that we can say hi.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Crime Over Wine is proud to support Emancipet, Unlike episodes of Crime Over Wine, veterinary care shouldn't be a mystery, which is why Emancipet is making vet care affordable and accessible to everyone. Emancipet is a nonprofit organization that operates an ever-expanding network of low-cost veterinary clinics in neighborhoods across the country, offering discounted and free vaccines, flea and tick treatments, spay and neuter surgeries, and much more. Learn more and support Emancipet's mission at emancipet.org.
Welcome back to Crime Over Wine Weekly. Authorities in Oklahoma are searching for tips in a cold case from 1991. 13-year-old Lee Jean Stevens' remains were found on June 29, 1991, on West 158th Street in Tulsa. He was wearing a blue and white striped shirt with gray slacks and had red and orange bracelets. Investigators say Stevens was reported missing days before his remains were found. If you have any information, call the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office at 918-596-5690.
It's been 4 years since anyone has seen Cassie Ampogue. Police in Greenville, South Carolina say she was last seen July 5th, 2020. According to NamUs, Cassie was disoriented and taken to Greenville Memorial Hospital by ambulance. Security cameras show her walking away from the hospital after being discharged. Nobody has seen her since. Family believes Cassie had her ID and bank cards, but they haven't been used since she disappeared. Cassie would be 44 years old today. She was last seen in a tie-dye shirt with a rainbow and space shuttle on the front. She was also carrying a large red bag. Cassie's described as a white woman with short blonde hair and brown eyes. She's 5'6" and about 100 pounds. She has several tattoos on her arms and back. If you know anything about Cassie's whereabouts, contact Greenville Police at 864-467-5548. And now turning to my news of the week, everyone needs to get their glass ready, their bottle ready, and maybe a pen and paper, because this one it's a lengthy one, it's a confusing one. This man has allegedly done a lot in the past few years. All right, here we go. A North Carolina man charged with killing his wife in 2018 by poisoning her with eye drops is now accused of trying to kill their daughter in the same way. Gaston County authorities arrested Joshua Hunsucker last week on 8 new charges. According to court documents, the former paramedic attempted to poison his daughter in February of 2023. The then 10-year-old was hospitalized but survived. Prosecutors say Hunsucker poisoned the young girl as an attempt to frame his in-laws for his wife Stacy Hunsucker's death. Court documents also show several alleged incidents of Hunsucker harassing or intimidating Stacy's parents. Prosecutors have filed a motion to have his bond revoked, saying they're concerned his dangerous actions will escalate. Hunsucker has been out on bond since December of 2019, but has made headlines a few times since. In March of 2021, he was arrested for intentionally setting a fire on a Charlotte medical helicopter mid-flight. He was fired from that medical facility in December of 2019. Then, in February of 2023, Hunsucker filed a police report claiming he was kidnapped and assaulted by Stacy's father. Investigators never found evidence that this happened. Now we're going to backtrack even more and go into Stacy Hunsucker's death. Stacy died from cardiac arrest in September of 2018. Investigators say Hunsucker refused to have an autopsy done and quickly had her cremated. He filed for Stacy's $250,000 life insurance policy just 2 days after she died. He got a payout of over $200,000. Hunsucker's actions raised suspicion, so investigation was launched into Stacy's death. Now you may be wondering, how can anything really be determined since Stacy was already cremated? Because Stacy was an organ donor, a vial of her blood was preserved. When tested, investigators learned Stacy had 30 to 40 times the normal level of tetrahydrozoline in her system. That's the main chemical in eye drops and can cause cardiac arrest if ingested. Police arrested Hunsucker for first-degree murder in December of 2019. In January of 2020, a grand jury indicted him on 3 felonies: first-degree murder, insurance fraud, and obtaining property by false pretenses by greater than $100,000. That murder case is ongoing, and Hunsucker could appear in court as early as this week on a motion to revoke his bond.
Money changes people. Money makes people do crazy things. Allegedly. I'm just saying. And kudos to her for being an organ donor. First of all, I always believe in that. But second of all, her making that choice literally is what has solved her case.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But yeah, yes, you're right. Because he thought everything was in the clear. She was cremated. So when they started looking into it and happened to find that one vial of blood left, that's where they got their answers. Also, we'll have a little throwback to Crime Over Wine here. I don't remember the person's name, but the case where the woman killed the man by eye drops, there are reports that this guy in court documents said he was inspired by her, and that's why he did it.
Are you talking about Julie Lynn Turner?
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally was like, eye drops is all you have to do?
And he was a paramedic, so he had
knew.
knowledge.
Mhm.
And what irks me, angers me, infuriates me about him attempting to kill his daughter is while she was in the hospital, he even told them, he's like, I think she ingested eye drops. And they're like, that's not what the tests look like. Can you imagine being so bad at trying to kill someone and you literally tell them how you tried to do it? And they're like, no, that's not how.
Are you okay, Heather?
Very much
I don't know if
not.
you're going to make it through the night.
If I don't show up for brunch, call the coroner.
I'll also be like, you need to check around and see if there's been any eye drops. I think we need to wrap this episode up before Heather, croaks out.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you just can't get enough of Crime Over Wine, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
We will see you next Monday for the very next episode of Crime Over Wine Weekly.
Proud member of the Podnuga Network.